What's up, everybody? Welcome to the inaugural episode of Bootsy Greencast. This is my new podcast where I'm going to be talking to all kinds of folks about all kinds of things. Truly no limits in this show. Definitely going to be talking about metaphysical. I'm going to have comedians and all kinds of folks on the show. But one of the biggest things that I wanted to do was invite my friends to come on and help me make their show for them so that they could debut their show with me. And I know I'm not going to be able to do this every week or anything, but it gives me great joy to try out someone else's idea for a concept of a podcast with them and do their first one with me. So they do that, and we had my good friend Benjamin Roberds on the show for the very first show. He is a director of Dominar films here in Athens, Georgia. He's directed quite a bit of music videos, features, commercials, you name it, and he's just an awesome guy. We talk about some really interesting things on the episode, main thing being his creative process. We go into that for about the first 35 minutes of the show. And then we talk about cryptids and some weird stuff a little bit further in, right about 50 minutes into the show. At about an hour in, we talk about panarchy and just some different political philosophies. And I have to apologize in advance about some of the stuff that I told about Benjamin Franklin. I was entirely incorrect about the bodies in his basement. They totally weren't put there by him. Go figure. Well, innocent until proven guilty. We also talk about how to save the world at an hour and 40 minutes in, which is pretty neat, along with DMT and how to spot a phony person. So that's at 2 hours in. This podcast wound up being 2 hours long, and originally Ben had thought he'd call it the Bottle of Wine Podcast, but it was, already kind of taken, so he thought about some other names and finally decided on the Between Projects podcast. So this is the inaugural episode of Bootsy Greencast, as well as the inaugural episode of Ben Roberds' Between Projects podcast, where Ben and I decided that we would share a bottle of wine or two and just chat and see what came up. I had a great conversation with Ben. He works very closely with his wife, Katie Gregg, at Dominar Films. You can check them out at http://www.dominarfilms.com. I'll put all types of links in the show notes, but enjoy the episode, everybody, and can't wait to hear your feedback. Thanks so much. Here we go. Take those shoes off.
One of them relaxed things.
There you go. Yeah, this is a relaxed thing. This is something that is your idea, and thank you for trying it out with me.
Are we rolling?
Yeah.
Hey! Perfect. Cool. Perfect timing.
Yeah, levels look great. And yeah, so I just let me say thank you. Thank you for test driving this with me.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had this idea of just kind of, a podcast where we share a bottle of wine, but
it's you and I, so we know that's not going to work.
That's not going to work. So we decided, Owen and I, we're gonna both have our own bottle of wine that we'll present each other with.
Yes,
and that kind of dictates the length of this podcast.
Yeah, that's right. So well, we needed to go for an hour, and I don't know, one bottle probably wouldn't have done that.
True. That yeah, and I mean, we got all night. So
yeah,
I don't know how long it'll be, but I drink fast.
Yeah,
so I think you do too.
Yeah.
So, that will dictate the length. We just talk until the wine's gone.
I love it.
And that kind of dictates the length of the podcast.
Yeah, this is awesome. This is something that I've been thinking about for a while. Something that I kind of want to do as often as possible is have a guest on the podcast who wants to create their own podcast and kind of, try out their idea on this show. And then hopefully people who listen to this podcast will be like, oh, what a cool podcast. I'm going to go check out Ben's podcast. What would you maybe call it? The bottle of wine? I mean,
well, I went through a few concepts. So I started just like the working title was the Bottle of Wine Podcast, but there's actually Two Girls and a Bottle of Wine podcast that exists. So shout out to them.
Yeah.
And then I thought about Under the Table podcast, like kind of drink you under the table. But then there's I Googled it. there's From Under the Table podcast, which talks about cryptids and some things like that.
Oh, so that's cool. Maybe we'll we'll get into a little of that, actually.
Yeah, shout out to them. Yeah. And then who I discovered this morning. And also the Under the Table podcast with, I believe, Nick Rice.
And Dave Matthews.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, shout out to them.
Yeah.
So I kind of came to the conclusion of I was thinking this is something I'm going to do, whenever I'm between projects, because it's, I work in the film industry. I own a production company that does music videos and commercials called Dominar Films. And so it's either I'm 100% in working or I'm 100% not working. Yeah. So it's kind of like, I came to the conclusion of, let's call it the Between Projects podcast.
Okay, the Between Projects podcast. With a bottle of wine.
With a bottle of wine.
All right, that's great. So yeah, I'm sorry I didn't give you really a proper introduction.
Oh, no worries.
But yes, today this is my first podcast, Bootsy Greencast. So welcome everybody, Bootsy Greencast. My name is Owen Hunt. I'm the host, and today I'm very fortunate and grateful to have my good friend Benjamin Roberts, director extraordinaire of Dominar Films, and good friend, good people, to test out this idea and see how this goes. And we're going to talk about all kinds of stuff today. I want to say congratulations to you on getting married.
Thank you.
What a beautiful wedding. I was honored to be a part of it. Thank you so much for having me. And
Owen
Ashley
was a groomsman.
Yeah, it was awesome. We had so much fun. We all jumped into the pool with all our suits and dresses on at the end of the night. It was like a John Cusack movie or something. But I had so much fun, and it was just a beautiful day. And I really honestly feel like the universe just stepped up, man.
It was magical.
It was a beautiful day. There was a rainbow.
I know. What I didn't expect was just what an out-of-body experience getting married is, like having the whole ceremony. It's kind of like, I don't know, I kind of understand why that ceremony exists. We wanted to kind of keep it non-ceremonial, but every aspect of it just kind of made it more like, whoa, everything was a little bit more intense that day, like just love and joy and every feeling you have, and it was magical. Owen came out in a giant shirt, which was beautiful. My mom is still laughing about that. Just Owen came out in a shirt that's about, what was it, like 3 times too big, buttoned up. So that
I don't know how many X's that L was, but it was quite a few for sure. It was a big old. My hands, were inside the sleeves, and I felt like a wacky flailing inflatable arm tube man.
I was grabbing your sleeve at some point, I think, spinning you around. So it was all around a good time.
Oh, dude, it was great. Thank you so much again, and it was
you.
awesome. I'm so excited for you. You and Katie both are just amazing people. I say to everybody all the time that you're as kind and amazing as you are. Talented and brilliant, and that is not an easy feat, in my opinion.
You.
And dude, thanks again just for taking the time. I guess we should get into this bottle.
We should get into the wine.
Can we start with mine?
Yeah, let's do it.
I'll present this one, and then I'll pour each a glass. This is a Finca El Origen, I think is how you pronounce it. It is Cab Sav at your request.
Okay.
2016 Valle de Uco, Mendoza, Argentina. And I'll tell you why I picked an Argentinian wine. It is because I used to work, as you know, as a bartender for many, many years. Yeah. And I worked for a gentleman named Federico Ramirez. And he is an Argentinian guy. And he taught me a lot about wine. One thing that is interesting, and maybe people know this, maybe they don't, but a lot of times the South American wine that is priced the same as a California wine will be far better than the California wine. And the reason why is not necessarily the grape or anything, but it's the land value.
I've heard, yeah. Okay.
So like in Napa or like Lodi or whatever, like it's super expensive to buy land. So it's just like an overhead thing.
Yeah.
So if the land is cheaper, then it's just a lower overhead, so you could charge less for a better quality wine. So we'll see. I mean, I don't know. The lady at the counter was like, "Oh, it's really good,"
Yeah,
so
let's check it out.
We're gonna find out. So here we go.
And I like the idea of us sharing the wine. I thought we were just going to go to town
just with
chugging our own out of the bottle. So this is much more civilized.
No, I have glasses,
That's
the
perfect.
whole bit. Yeah.
That's perfect.
Yeah. I think that'll be fun too, because we can talk about the wines and the differences in the palate,
Yeah.
Maybe there's a little bit of oakiness. Maybe there's a little bit of
Sure.
smokiness.
Yeah.
But there's going to be a whole lot of dopiness on my end.
Which I have to warn the viewers, the listeners of this podcast in the future. I have the worst palate ever, so I'm only drinking the wine for intoxication reasons.
Would you like to
Sure, I'll
test that out?
This is a test by a non-expert.
And I'm holding it up as if somebody's watching us right now.
I'm looking at it as he's holding it.
What do you think, sir? Don't spit.
Tastes like cab. It's good. It's great. No, it's I have like two settings of wine consumption or taste, I guess, and I rank it as one. Oh, that tastes good. That tastes like cab. And then two, that's box wine that has gone bad. Those are my only two, like, I can drink that or I can't drink that, and everything in between.
Not box wine that's gone bad.
Yeah.
That's an important discmission. I thought about getting a box, honestly, today. I was like,
that would be breaking the rules. It's got to be a bottle.
It has to be a bottle. And, with this thing, maybe, you start documenting, even with your palate, or maybe even ask your guests, what they think about this wine. You can pretend to be snooty, maybe. Yeah. Just for funsies.
True. Yeah. I mean, I'm in no way a wine connoisseur. My dad got me into Cabernet. He's 81 years old. Looks like he's like 60 or younger, and I'm convinced the Cabernet just kind of preserves him. And he won't drink anything other than Cabernet.
Wow.
Merlot gives him a headache. It gives me a headache as well, which I've heard they're not that different. Sometimes some like cabs can have like 60% Merlot in it.
Interesting.
Somebody told me that.
I don't doubt it. I never knew that, but I'm sure it's probably true.
And even when it's not a blend is what I've heard. But no, it's just I'll do a Malbec or a Pinot Noir.
Yeah, man. I love that Pinot Noir, man. That's some good stuff.
I'll do one of those, but it's just kind of it's become tradition to just stick with Cabernet all day.
Very nice. Yeah. Well, this is really nice. I'm not a connoisseur either. I learned a lot about it when I was bartending, just because I needed to. And then I worked at Last Resort here in Athens for a while, and they take their wine list very seriously, so I had to learn about that. Whatever. To me, tomato, it's wine.
Yeah. And we're drinking it for the conversation.
We are. We're drinking it for the conversation. We're going to talk about spirituality. And is this spiritual, Ben, to drink wine? And
I think so. I was looking for a philosopher's quote today that was something I'd read a while back ago, and I don't retain any information. So it was something along the lines of the meaning of life is drinking wine in the garden with your friends and family. And it's something like that.
That's really beautiful.
Yeah. And I think, but I can't find it. It's like it never existed.
Wow.
I've been Googling it all day.
Interesting.
So, yeah. If anybody out there on the World Wide Web knows of this, send me a link.
On the World Wide Web. Yeah, and the one alcohol quote I know is in Latin, in vino veritas, which means in wine is truth.
I think did you scream that in improv the other day?
I think I did.
Because and everyone thought you were speaking in tongues. It was great. If everyone doesn't know, Owen and I were a part of a local improv group, Gorgeous George's Improv, and we do that every Monday if we can make it. If we're between projects, as this podcast is based around.
Yes.
I think everyone knows what improv is, right?
Yeah, improv comedy. Kind of like Whose Line Is It Anyway? But we do a little bit more scene work. It's a little bit less gamey than that. And it's also evolving, with everybody who's starting to participate more and we're getting more and more of a crowd in there. Yeah. And it's just a great exercise. I recommend it's almost therapeutic. I mean, it is therapeutic. It's not therapy, because that one guy came that one time and he was like acting like it was therapy, and he kind of scared me a little bit. I don't know if you were around for that. He shall remain.
I dodged those sessions.
He shall remain nameless, because I can't remember his name.
Oh,
but he was kind of like, oh well, I can say whatever I want, and in a way that's true. But it's very therapeutic to just surrender to the moment, to be encapsulated in the scene, and just take whatever position seems adequate, I guess.
And I mean, you have the certain responsibility of carrying the scene through. Like, if you do just start saying random stuff, it does like kind of crumble. But your random stuff of the speaking in tongues was very good in place, because I think it was something along the lines of your partner. I think it was Jessica. Was it? Very talented. She said, I can't understand anything you're saying, and you just start speaking in tongues. And I thought that was the perfect segue into that.
Oh boy. Yeah, I had a lot of fun with that scene. I love that game. We play a game called Eyes Wide Shut, which is where the director of the scene will clap, and that is your cue to make eye contact. So it usually winds up being a romantic scene in some way. It's almost impossible to avoid that. But that particular scene was super fun. She is very talented, so it was a lot of fun to play that scene with her. I also loved your scene with Kelly when you hopped up on his lap. I was howling. I don't think I've ever laughed that hard at any of our improv performances.
And that's how stressed we are. We're just laughing at anything now. Yeah.
No, it's been really fun to explore that with you, Kelly, Christine, Kelsey, Keaton now, Jessica, everyone who's been involved, and I think more and more people are going to wind up getting involved.
Oh yeah.
And that's just like such a great release and such a wonderful way to just be in the present moment.
Well, it improves like every other area of your life, just because you're able to kind of like, if you do get a curveball, you're used to curveballs up in front of a crowd of people. So, especially in film, when somebody comes up and it's like, well, that important prop that the whole thing is centered around. We don't have that, so we're going to have to improvise,
yeah, exactly.
or something like that, which never happens. No, I mean, my producer and wife, Katie Gregg, she makes sure we always have everything we need.
Yeah, you guys are an amazing team. You're great separate. You're even better together. And, it's just so cool to be able to... I've been able to work on a couple of projects, and I can just vouch for how amazing you guys are on set. And just, I don't know, I'm just blown away, and, happy to engage and be a part of your guys' life. I mean, I really feel like, man. We do have a bit of a family, kind of gathering around and rallying and supporting each other, and because you've always been so both of you have always been so supportive of me and my crazy forays and my woo-ness,
I love your woo-ness.
Yeah, the woo. Yeah, woo. And I appreciate that. It's funny. I can remember maybe one of the first times we'd hung out. We went and had a bottle of wine at Last Resort. And I was telling you about the project that it's this project that I'm doing. It's still me doing this project. It had developed into some other things, and now it's back to just me kind of doing this thing. And I'm doing some other things as well. But yeah, I can just remember having a couple glasses of wine and talking to you about, what I was thinking about doing. And I remember your advice was, don't be a guru, And I was like, that advice really spoke to me.
I don't remember saying that, by the way. It was a couple bottles of wine. It was not a couple glasses. Yeah, but I agree. Yeah.
No, it's true. And, that meant a lot to me. And I took that with me, obviously, because I'm bringing it up now. Mm. But like just in what I've been working on and how I've been dealing with people, it's like, I feel like I have a YouTube channel. It's got, a couple 3,000 subscribers, whatever. And, to me, I don't feel like a guru. And I don't think that the people who watch my channel feel like I'm a guru or trying to be one either. Because I don't feel like anyone's following me. If anything, we're all going together, arm in arm, and everyone's like, I read one comment. I cry a lot at the comments,
That's good. That's good.
I think I shared one with you, but there was one person who was like, I just appreciate you. I feel like, you're my friend in this, and, I'm learning and all that. And I'm learning too. I learn from people, and I could go back in time and look at earlier videos and pick them apart, I'm sure, and as I continue to learn more and grow and develop and evolve as whatever the hell I am, then I can see, I could go back, and I'm sure with any creative project it's this way too. Like if I listen to an old album, I could just be like, oh God, why is that overcompressed? Or anything, some technical things and some composition things, and that's just part of the creative process, though.
And for people who don't know, it's great that people are like through comments saying that they feel like they're friends with you, because Owen is the sweetest, kindest person I've ever met. His laugh echoes through my heart. It honestly does.
Oh, you're gonna make me cry, bro. I haven't even had one glass yet.
We'll be crying a lot before the night's over. But no, that's beautiful that you can reach out to people like that in that way over online. And I mean, because when I first met you, I'm like, where's this guy been in my life? I just love you, dude.
Well, I felt the same way. I had the opportunity to see some of your work, and I feel like I could see your glimpses of your soul through your work. And then when I met you, I was even more blown away, because I was working on an Eric Andre movie that is, I guess by the time this podcast comes out,
I was considering bringing it up, but I wasn't sure about the NDAs.
No, right, exactly.
So perfect.
So many freaking NDAs. But it's been announced and everything, so it's fine to talk about. And then I think by the time I release this, it will have already come out. I think it came out October 25th, or will come out October 25th, as we stand in time. And then on the other side of this, in the World Wide Web world, it came out October 25th. So I was working on that project. I was a little bit frustrated, overworked. And I had seen your card in Flickr. Which is a bar here in Athens. And I just saw it's just, really thick, cool looking, simple card. And it's just like, Ben Roberts, director. And I was like, huh. I grabbed the card, and then I was in Atlanta one day, and I thought, oh, send this guy an email, and so I did, and you answered me back.
I'm glad I put that card up. In whatever drunken state I was at Flickr. Perfect. That's my past self. Doing good things for my future self, as opposed to the norm.
I like to think of it as outsmarting myself.
There you go. Yeah, perfect.
And you answered me back, and then actually we were introduced by our mutual friend James Preston.
Yeah, he's killing it.
He's doing great. Man, Athens Rising. I haven't seen the second one yet, but I will ASAP.
Dude.
I know I need to. It's just been crazy. I've traveled so much, but I will see that in the next couple of weeks. I'm so excited. I'm glad to hear that. And he was like, he introduced me to you, and you were like, hey, do you do comedy? And I was like, yeah, actually. He was, and then Ben was like, do you wear a suit? At the time I was wearing a suit.
Yeah.
He was like, do you wear a suit when you perform? And I was like, yeah. He was like, you're really funny. And I was like,
yeah, dude. Yeah, no, I saw you at what was it, Open Toad?
Yeah, Open Toad.
Yeah, which was great. That's a great open mic. And
really
went there, and everyone was killing it. I saw Owen up there, and I'm like, oh, this guy's like dressed to the nines. This guy's from out of town, probably. And dude, no, it was great to make that connection and be like, whoa, I saw you up on stage.
That's awesome. Yeah, and then we got to talking, and I was like, well, he's. What do you do? And I was like, well, I'm a producer, and I, worked in film, and then you're like, well, maybe you can come and help us out sometime. And so we worked on that Nothing More video together. And then I was around for the P Groove video that you guys did and helping out a little bit, which was awesome. Really cool to get a glimpse into the world and create something.
Yeah, the chaos.
Yeah, the chaos. Well, you have a really interesting process, and I admire it a tremendous amount. I'd love to talk about that actually a little bit.
Sure.
If you wouldn't mind. Just talking about because I know in general speak, you probably wouldn't shoot anything that you didn't write yourself or come up with yourself. Yeah. Which I think is really, really cool. I don't know, like how do you kind of come up with these of course I'll put a link in the show notes for everybody so they can see your work.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
Let's talk a little bit about that.
Most recently, I came out with the sixth music video, which is in a series of music videos for the British band Don Broco. And kind of, what was it? Maybe 2 or 3 years ago, I got in contact with them through just the commissioning process. Actually, it was through Radar Music Videos. So shout out to them.
All right.
And got in touch with them, and kind of the process of pitching for music videos is you create a treatment, which is almost kind of a script for a music video. And they'll ask for treatments from like an upwards of 14 to 25 directors, and then they pick one out of a big stack.
Damn.
One thing I've learned is a lot of bands don't even read half of them or 2/3 of them. Good to know, everybody.
Wow.
So they pick one out of a stack, and they're like, hey, I love this idea. And mine was, we were kind of going through a drought at that time of just like pitching. And, oh man, I love this band. I hope they take my treatment. Crickets, and then you do that over and over again until it's like kind of like the Twilight Zone of making up music videos that you believe will never happen. And so I was just like, screw it. I'm not going to pander to anybody. Like Don Broco, they're an amazing group of guys, and they had they were kind of going through a poppy phase, I guess, just with their videos of just kind of standard kind of pop-esque video, like music videos with girls near the pool and stuff like that. And I was like, this band's gonna hate this treatment, but screw it. This is what I hear. This is what I see when I hear this song. And so I kind of made up this ridiculous cowboy chasing a girl through a field, and does this just really terribly stupid dance that kind of hypnotizes people, and then they do the dance. And kind of almost like a zombie plague of stupid dancing. And from that, and I just wrote it really quickly, threw it out to the band. They're never going to get back to me, I thought. And then suddenly they're like, hey, we love it. When can we fly over? And I'm like, wait, what? And at this point, we had never worked with an international band, and so we're scrambling. We're like, oh crap, what do we do? And they flew in, and I was talking to Sai. He's one of the band members, and they're also sweet. They came to me and they were like, we really didn't like the direction our other videos were going, and we really needed a new change. And I'm like, what? Seriously? Like, what are the odds? And so they were like, yeah, we hate when it's the girl near the pool. It's like, and I'm like, yeah, I hated that too. And so they were ready to make a just drastic shift over to really creepy, weird music videos. And after that, they flew over 5 more times over the course of a couple years, and now we're up to 6 videos.
That's amazing, and they're all sequenced together in a story.
Yeah, it's kind of interconnected by the same characters and the same kind of weird universe. A good friend of mine, Patrick Morales, he makes great music videos here in Athens, Georgia as well. He came up to me and he explained it in a way that I never thought about, but he said this kind of cowboy character is an agent of chaos who comes, and any situation, if just the mere fact that he's in the room can create some kind of outlandish story. And I was like, I've never thought about that. But he really kind of psychoanalyzed the whole series, and I thought that was a good way to say it.
Wow, that is really cool. Yeah, and that is true with Alan's character. I love his like mouthing in the last video. Just cracked me up. The action video. Where I can't even remember what the sound is, but he's like, gah, 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 or like,
and he's like, woo hoo,
yeah. Woo, woo, woo. Yeah, and he mouths it, and it's just, it's so funny.
Well, Alan Rowell, he's a local actor. He's done so much stuff on stage for Town and Gown. He worked there for years, and he's just, as they say, as the band calls him, he's a legend. He's just, he's got a great presence, and I'm so glad that I found him as the cowboy, and he just knocked it out of the park. And before we knew it, he was going on tour with them, and he went on tour to the like all throughout the UK. I think they went up to like, what was it, Scotland, and all over Europe actually. So it was just that's amazing to see him on stage in front of thousands of people. And he used to be the guy who, we made some kind of short way back in the day where it was like for a 24-hour film festival at Flickr, which Flickr's awesome, where he was like, I'm the mayor of Night Bus, and he's like shooting up heroin. And, like, so that's where he started.
Wow, yeah.
And
humble beginnings.
I'm glad he's and at the time he's like, what are you making me do? And he was very skeptical. So I'm very grateful that he stuck through with me all the weird stuff that he's done for us.
Do some strange things, but no, that's great. I think that's a testament to you sticking to your guns too, and saying, you know what, I'm just going to write this treatment, what I feel, what I see in my head, what I hear what I envision when I hear this song, and being so true to that instead of pandering.
Yeah,
right. Because you had that option. You could have written the pool with the girls at the pool.
They wanted to
treatment for them, and they would have been like, no, we're tired of it. We're tired of that.
True, yeah. There you go.
My terrible English accent.
I've got a terrible one too.
Those guys. But no, that's really cool. And I mean, you guys have done a lot. I mean, you've done a lot of music videos, but I mean, you've been making films and videos, shorts, like features for what, since you were like 8 years old or something?
Yeah, about 8 years old. Just been started with my dad's video camera. My dad actually he came home with a video camera. I really wanted to use it, and he said, okay, well, you got to write a script and you got to make a storyboard. I think I negotiated with him that just a script, no storyboard. And he accepted the script.
Wow.
And then he helped get the camera together, and he held the camera in parts, and he acted in it, and that kind of brought this professionalism to it early on, where it's like, I can only use the camera if I write a script. And so that kind of made it something that you don't just show up and shoot.
It's almost a ritual.
Yeah, it is.
Right? Like, you sit down, you think about what you're doing. It's very deliberate.
Mm-hmm.
It's not like somebody just running around, documenting something all shaky or something. It's like, well, no, I'm going to do this, and then this is going to happen, and then this is how it ends. And so it's not something that's, just sloppily thrown together. It's something that you're really pouring your soul, your energy, and your whole being into.
Yeah, I mean, and to this day, pre-production stresses me out so bad because it's like, it's a process of like, okay, is it going to turn out exactly how it's going to be in my head? And half the time it does. I think, I'd say probably 80% of the time I'm like, okay, there we got it. And then 20% of the time I'm like, damn it, I'm not going to sleep all week because I'm going to be punching myself.
No, I know how stressed and how seriously you take your craft, and I think that's really amazing. How do you, when you sit down and let's say music video, just for lack of, when you sit down, what does that look like when you sit down and listen to a song? First of all, like, do you just listen to random songs that you guys find people who need music videos on a database or something like that, and then you just kind of listen through them, and then you pitch them, or you write the treatment first, or they come to you?
It's a weird process, and I'm gonna pour some wine.
I'm
gonna lean out of this microphone for a second. I don't know if you can hear me.
Oh yeah, we'll still be able to hear you. We can hear that. We can hear that wine go.
Oh yeah.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, I think you got the brunt of it. There you go. You're gonna feel it.
Okay.
Well, it's they kind of put out a wide net, and so it's like you'll get a brief, and this brief, if you're lucky, shows the budget. It's when it doesn't show the budget that when it's like, well, we're not business people. We can't tell you what your music video costs. How much do you have?
Right.
And then it's a long process of like, well, give us enough to make it. And then they're like, well, how much does it to make it? Well, there's never enough money to make it, is the honest answer.
That's so true.
Because we always just, it's music videos. You don't make music videos if you want to make money. You make music videos if you want to make music videos. And, so it's you get a brief, and it's like, here's the budget. Here's kind of a vague, like, we kind of want it to be this or want it this. Or sometimes they have a big idea, and then you kind of restructure it into your own idea. Or they'll be like, go crazy, have fun. And those are always the most fun, because it's like, it can be whatever. And then from there, it comes with the track. Sometimes it's finished. Sometimes it's like, I can kind of imagine what the lyrics will sound like, majority of the time it's a finished track, and I'll listen to that over and over and over again. Athens, Georgia, it's a great town to just kind of take laps, walk around, and just kind of brainstorm. And so I'll listen to it on repeat for the first day. So I'll listen to it over and over and over and over again. Maybe during the chorus, I'll be like, oh, that looks like this. Or like, it sounds like it looks like this.
Cool.
And then the second morning, I'll sit down with a sheet of paper and I'll write out names for each part of the song. So for instance, if, the intro of the song sounds like somebody dragging a chain, it's drag the chain, arrow to, cut the throat. It sounds like somebody getting their throat cut in this part. And then over here, it sounds like somebody riding a dog, like it sounds like a tiny guy riding a dog or something like that. And I'll name it like, the tiny man rides dog. And not that that's what the music video is going to be, but I know I'm naming each of these sections so that I can start like thinking in my mind, oh, this is how a narrative story will play out. So I can see kind of a map of the whole song. And then at that point I can be like, oh, well, that crazy idea I had about, for instance, the cowboy throwing up eggs. That could go after this part, because it, kind of sounds like somebody throwing up eggs at that part. And then, I had this idea of like, oh, it sounds like kids playing with toys that are like coming to life, and I'll put that in this section. And then you can just kind of like it gives you a storyboard, kind of a visualization to create a story around.
Sure.
And then pitch it and pray to God they take it.
No, that's really cool. That's amazing. I love the creative process, and I think it's interesting to talk about that, and just see how it develops, because it starts with this basic idea. You're just outlining. You're like, oh, this sounds like this. This sounds like this, and then you go through and I guess just refine and hone that, and then kind of come up with a story arc and throw in any. And then also you do a lot of really cool stuff with the speeds of the camera, a lot of cool like sort of shots that look like they're all one shot. I've seen stylistically you've done, and just there's a lot. I know that there's a lot. Like I remember reading the treatment for that Nothing More video, and then watching it come together, and I was pretty blown away by the whole process.
Thanks.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Well, one thing that helps with that is animatics. It's kind of like my director of photography, Brian Redding, who's extremely talented. I'd love to have him on this podcast sometime.
Yeah.
He just like there was one time, I forget what shoot it was, but it was we were looking at the shot list because I'd made the shot list, and he said, this is physically impossible to shoot in 2 days. Like there's no way to do it. Like you have to cut shots. And I was like, we need all of them. Like I won't know like that we don't need all of them until I'm in the editing room. He's like, okay, well, let's shoot the whole thing right here, right now. And we acted out every single shot. And then I edited it together. And it's just me, for instance, I'll take my glasses off to be one character and put my glasses on top of my head to be another character. And then I act through the entire music video, and then edit that together. And then I can go through and cut shots or add shots, usually, unfortunately, to know what we need and what we can live without and what we really need. And ever since we did that, what was it, a couple years ago or a year or so ago, now for every music video, we film an animatic where we just act out the whole thing. I'd love to post one of those and show, just because once you see them back to back, it literally is the music video that we shot acting out everything without the actual actors. And it kind of gives you a good eye for pacing. And then on set, I can say, hey, this is a 4.5 second shot. So can somebody time this and let's see if we get it. Stuff like that.
The amount of math, and speeds of shots and stuff, and the way that you stacked all that on that, especially on that Nothing More video, was just like, Jesus, man. I don't know. My brain would break,
It does sometimes.
Yeah.
It does. There was that Nothing More video. It felt like, I can remember sitting outside of that warehouse we were shooting in, and I can remember feeling kind of like a fighter who doesn't want to go back in the ring. I'm just like, don't punch me anymore. Please don't punch me. Because what was really killing us was it was so mathematically precise. Mm-hmm. And just because, we'll generally, we tend to go towards like DSLRs and cameras like that, because it's just like the image quality, I think it's of course a Red's better, of course an Alexa's better, but if you're not watching it on a big movie screen, I think it's comparable in quality, and we tend to spend that money on like on lights and art department, because I think that's the kind of stuff that doesn't matter how many pixels you have, or it's gonna show. That you had good lights, that you had good set deck, that you had, all these other things are the kind of stuff you want to spend money on before you spend money on a camera that, my God. So, for instance, where was I going with that? It was, anyway, we had this DSLR camera that, the plug-in, I remember now, the plug-in created a lag. So this is why you want to spend money on those big cameras if it's something that you have to see in real time.
Yes.
Because the cable, the input for the DSLR that we were using, created a slight lag that would vary. So I'd be like, you were off your mark. And then they're like, I thought I was right on my mark, but I'm sitting behind a curtain watching the monitor.
Yeah.
And so I would be like, wait, but you were too soon last time. And they were like, but I did it, did it faster this time. It created this like kind of Twilight Zone of, wait, I keep giving them directions and it keeps making it worse. And then eventually we figured out that there was a lag in the input of the DSLR. And so I'm like, okay, so if we ever shoot anything that's mathematically precise, we'll get the cheapest Red possible and just go that way. Just so there's no lag in the input.
Yeah.
Because, that's
troubling.
I mean, I thought I was losing my mind as a director.
Of course.
Because I'm like, I'm directing them and I'll tell them like, I'm telling them different things every time. And poor Brian, man, his rig was so heavy and he's running in circles. Yeah, and he's like, Ben, I think I'm hitting my mark. And I'm like, Brian, you're not hitting your mark. I'm watching the monitor. So that felt like getting kind of very close to KO'd in the ring. To where I would sit outside. I'm like, I do not want to go back in there. But we eventually figured it out. And we knocked it out during a hurricane, by the way.
Yeah.
There was we were shooting inside a warehouse with no power, had a generator outside covered in a tarp, and there was just water being down, and we were shooting.
You gotta believe in miracles. Doing what you guys do. I know you've had several.
We've seen a lot.
Yeah, I know you've
miracles.
had several happen, and that's crazy too. I mean, it's crazy to think about. Trying to have control over something and then seeing it that you don't have as much control as you would like, and then adjusting for that and accounting for that and trying to stay calm, and Katie's great at that. She's the best at just being like, it's okay, we're going to figure it out, and just staying vigilant and positive all the time. And, just watching you guys overcome those type of hurdles, really, really amazing. And I don't know, like that has something to do with there's some spirit there.
There is absolutely no. I mean, I do a lot of like I guess I would consider myself a like pantheist, or I believe in a God that has no like ties to any like overarching I guess
Religion?
organized religion,
Right.
or anything like that. But it I pray to that God a lot, and that God has helped me many times. And I'm like, man, why does this entity? Why does this entity care about my shoot? And knock on wood, we've there will be many shoots to come. But,
Yeah, for sure.
But no, it's we've had plenty of close calls where it is like, what are the odds?
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I know you've told me a lot of stories, and it's always interesting and a little bit confirming too to know that there seems to be some sort of force that's at our back a little bit,
Yeah.
like a wind behind us. That's like, you know what, like, you take steps in this direction, and you have to have faith if you want to create something, a piece of art of any type, and that's, I love, working with creative people, and I love the creative, doing anything creative. So, you kind of have to have like a little bit of faith, you have to step out and jump off the cliff and just be like, all right, here we go. Because if you don't do that, then you're never going to make anything.
Yeah.
You'll just stand there at the edge and be like, well, here's how it would be, but once until you get in there and you get involved, you have no idea, what it's going to take, what's involved, what the variables are going to be. Things sneak up on you that you didn't expect.
True.
And then you couldn't have never accounted for.
Yeah.
And then trying to, work through that whole process. Were you always a sort of pantheist, or did you come from any other sort of belief system from a young age? Or
I was raised Methodist. And then kind of in high school went through, listened to a lot of Marilyn Manson, and of course, became I had hair down to my shoulders that was slicked down with gel. So just imagine what that looks like. Yeah. And I would wear a straight jacket to school sometimes, black straight jacket bought from Hot Topic.
Wow.
And I definitely went through the just a firm atheist phase.
Sure.
And then just later in life, just started kind of thinking about the connections of the universe, of like all these little things that happen that I'm like, oh my God, well, I feel like, God isn't a man with a beard in the sky. God is, he's the man sin right across from me. It's Owen. Sure. He's, and it's the earth. It's everything. It's every beautiful thing you come across.
Everything that is, is connected somehow. Like everything that is part of everything that is. You can't really separate that. So, to kind of view it that way, I guess the Kabbalion would say like the all,
Yeah.
Other people would say like source, or, whatever the holistic, sort of idea is, in Transurfing, it talks about how it's like an ocean. Mm-hmm. And while we're suspended in the air is sort of this incarnation that we find ourselves in, like living in this physical 3D reality and playing this game, for lack of a better way. While we're separate from this ocean, we're still a piece of it. We're just suspended in air.
Yeah.
Now, and then, I guess, upon death, right back into the ocean, but each one of us really being that snowflake, or that, that piece of that part of, or particle of God, or whatever, that's very unique and defined and special, and I think that's what's really neat about, what you've done is stepping out and really allowing yourself and forcing yourself really to be who you are. And when you go to work every day, it's not like you go to work and just, do a mundane job. You're bringing your soul into your
it
work.
Hurts.
Yeah.
Why does this hurt? It hurts too much.
But I really admire that,
Oh, thanks,
man. A lot of people don't have the courage to do that, and I understand why. I mean, sometimes I don't have the courage to do that. I wake up and I'm like, oh shit, what was I thinking? Like I could have done something easy. I could have done something that was secure and safe.
I feel like you're having those connections all the time, where it's just like beautiful things happen, and it's like your world's mold, because you're always like you're probably one of the most Renaissance men I have as a friend, because you're in the comedy world, the spiritual world, production world. Like you're killing it in all cylinders, and podcasting.
Oh, I love podcasting. This is so much fun, dude. I just want to say thank you for coming over here and doing this podcast with me. so I wouldn't have to do stand-up tonight.
Well, there you go.
You know?
I know that's
I'm like so relieved.
Dude, yeah, I mean, I can imagine. That's a good I'd rather be I've never, the closest to stand-up I've done is improv. And I prefer this, you know, because I do the we do the improv to like get out of our comfort zones. And this is, hey, I got wine here.
Yeah,
this is beautiful. This is great.
We're in my house. You know, it's cool.
I'm with a best friend. It's beautiful.
It is beautiful. Let's talk about cryptids. My mom's super into cryptids. So
okay.
You know,
okay.
Well, I'll preface before we just jump right in. I'll preface that, you know, you are one of those people that I can talk to about anything. I can just lay it out like what the hell ever, you know, anything. And you've been down, you know, tons of different rabbit holes and, you know, looked into conspiracies and looked into cryptids and and it never fails. Anything that I mention, you're just like, oh, well, you know.
Well, I mean, anything fun, anything that's like, you know, anything that does have a rabbit hole, like, you know, I've definitely not been down all of them. No, I mean, God, you talk to some people and it's like, oh my God, how many hours have you put into this? I'll put just enough hours to vaguely understand it and then move on to the next thing.
That's enough.
Because I'm a little ADD. But yeah, no, I mean, I think one of the first cryptids I talked to you about was the hide behinds that I thought was a really cool one. That I was hiking in with Katie and her father and I. We went for a 12-mile hike up and down Blood Mountain, and down two of the mountains. I did it in sneakers. I'm a dumbass.
That's a serious hike. It's very steep.
Well, I was just, I was hungover. I'm like, I didn't bring any hiking boots. I guess these sneakers will be fun. and of course, I'm just like rolling my ankles up and down.
Oh my God.
I'm just like wobbling around up and down. But it was a lot of fun. Such a creepy, because it rained and then it was just super foggy to where you can barely see your hand in front of your face. And it was just so creepy out there that I'm like, there's like an energy out here. I want to go down like a Reddit rabbit hole and find out what happens out here. Well, there was a Native American battle that I know happened out there. And I can just imagine people like with axes and stuff jumping off like high mountains and things like that. But I found somebody who had this story that they heard growls behind trees, and this Reddit user is like, yeah, that's a standard hide behind. Just like, like, no shit, you're like noob. And I'm like, what the hell's a hide behind? So I looked into it, and it's these creatures that kind of shapeshift in the shape of trees. Whoa. And then hide behind them and then peek out from behind. And I'm like, oh my God, that's a cryptid I had never heard of before. Apparently there's been some books about it.
So that's like a shapeshifter, sort of? Or
yeah, and I guess they like, if you get too close, they like grab you. And my theory is they slam you against the tree until your head just turns to mush. So like, I hope that's what they do. That'd be cool.
Oh my God, yeah, that's intense.
So that's like the horror movie. That's the the Hollywood version of it. Online it looks like a big old like dog.
Okay.
So on the Wikipedia page, standing on its hind legs. I think that looks dumb. Wow. I think it should look like.
Does it look like a werewolf? Sort of.
That's what they say it looks like. I think it should look. That's my thing about cryptids. They are what they can be whatever you want them to be in a way. There was I think a kid show. I forget the name of the kid show, but they had a hide behind in it because I did some research, and the hide behind in the kid show looked a lot cooler than the one on the Wikipedia page. It was like had these bright yellow eyes. Whoa. And it looked kind of like a tree. Like I think that's a really cool cryptid that apparently people think goes on in Blood Mountain, Georgia.
Hey, I mean, you never know. I mean, well, the imagination aspect of anything creative, because like if we think about it in like quantum terms, everything is real.
Yeah.
It's not necessarily all possible.
Yeah.
By a lot, but everything is like Mickey Mouse is real. He's not going to come through the door.
Yeah.
But the fact that we can visualize him and see him in the imaginary, metaphysical, whatever you want to call it, dream world.
He appears in your dreams.
He's real.
Yeah.
That means he's real. So the cryptid thing, like anything that we could, kind of come up with or conjure up, I feel like I'm not really sure how it happens, or if it's like a part of collective consciousness that creates these like entities or these ideas of entities or whatever.
Yeah.
Right. Like I've had sleep paralysis, for instance. Right.
Oh my God. Yeah.
Oh, it's the worst. But like it does really feel like an old hag. I think it's Irish, or it's either Irish or Scottish. They call it the old hag. Like an old woman is sitting on your chest, and that's what it really feels like. And so I don't know if it's us over time giving our energy to these particular ideas, and the fact now that there's a Wikipedia, and then it becomes this hide behind, and then more and more people think about it and agree on it, and then now their thought energy is going toward it, and then it just becomes this like snowball effect of this. Now this thing is more real and more real and more real the more people who conjure it up and think about it and give energy to it.
I guess they call that a tulpa.
Okay.
Like something that's created out of imagination to where it comes into the physical world.
That is so crazy. Okay, so like
shout out to last podcast on the left.
Yeah,
they touched upon that.
That's a great show. Well, so that has something to do with what Vadim in that book calls pendulums. Pendulums being like ideas themselves or energetic thought structures. And then that could pertain to anything from a organized religion to a political party to a sports team to whatever. But you said tulpas?
Yeah, it's like I want to say it might be a Buddhist term. I'm just speaking out my ass.
That's really cool, though.
Because I looked it up one time, but they'll touch upon it a lot. I think they even touched upon it in the Men in Black series, I believe. Because, are these men in black suits that are watching you because you're paranoid about the aliens? Are you actually creating them out of your own mind? Stuff
that's
like
the
that.
question, right? Like that's really it. I read Robert Anton Wilson's book Prometheus Rising a few years ago. I adore him. One of the most amazing minds ever. And he was like, there's exercises at the end of each chapter. The whole premise of the book is what the thinker thinks, the prover proves, which is incredibly quantum in itself. But like one of the exercises is go out and, keep in mind that you're looking for a quarter on the ground.
Yeah.
And so whenever you do find that quarter, ask yourself this question. Did you notice the quarter because you were thinking about it and because of this question? Yeah. Or did you put the quarter there for yourself? And, that's a great question. To me, the answer is the quarter was there. You saw it because you were looking for it. Yeah. And that's confirmation bias. That's what we do naturally with our minds. Whatever it is that we focus on and think about time and time again. You see it. It's like, if you want a particular type of car, then you see that car more often. True, yeah. So that's really the phenomenon that's at play. But it's interesting to think about and like and to backtrack and say, well, how does this become a thing? Well, I mean, in my early 20s, as gross as it is, I would I was a smoker, and I would as if I see an empty cigarette box, I'm like, oh, did they throw it out with like a real cigarette? Because I'm like, 19, 20, I'm like, I can't afford cigarettes. Mm-hmm. And so I'm like, oh, is there like a fresh one in there? And I just had the habit of looking at that. And then one day I find a cigarette box with a blunt and $20 in it. Well, hell. So there you go. Did I create the blunt and the $20? Man, this guy's powerful. But no, yeah, I think that the sort of truth, like I don't think we can really ever understand absolute truth or anything. I think we can only get ever so close. Is that we are the more of us that agree on a certain thing, and this is why I think the Mandela effect is like an actual thing, is because the more of us that focus our energy and thoughts on a particular situation, outcome, etc., and we shift our attention and focus or consciousness or whatever you want to call it to that thing, the more sort of real it becomes, you know?
I do worry about that because, like, you know, I mean, it's really easy to be negative about the news, the way that the world's going right now.
Mm-hmm.
I do worry that the world is like, I feel like everybody wants the world to end in a way.
I know what you mean. Yeah, I used to think about that a couple of years ago. I felt that way. And I honestly, like, there was a part of me at one point in my life, and this was a few years even before that, but where I kind of was like, getting all amped up, like, yeah, I'm gonna get a bunch of guns and you know, like all this stuff, you know, it's like I gotta be ready and I'm gonna take like taekwondo or some shit, you know, and get because like it sort of charges you up for it, and even though that's not like a positive thing or something you really internally truly want, you still like sort of have this I don't know, I won't say compulsion, but sort of you're sort of attracted or seduced by the idea. Yeah. And it's like, oh yeah, you know, like, and you kind of like, you start to go down that thing. And I think you can follow that down as far as you'll allow yourself to. Yeah. Which, you know, is again, like that idea of a pendulum, or what was it called from the last podcast on the left that you just said?
Oh, a tulpa.
A tulpa.
Right? I mean, there could be a tulpa asteroid that we just create.
Exactly.
Well, or, you know, it'd probably be an atom bomb.
Certainly there would be like a tulpa of like a, you know, like a militia, overthrow of the government.
Yeah,
tulpa.
Yeah, something like that.
Right?
And
like,
I mean,
I like this term. It's cool. I like different terms. But yeah, like and then the more people that sort of agree on that, then they create the thing, and it's almost not even that consciously created. They're just like, yeah, and then more people, and then more people, and then more people agree. And then, so what's interesting about that is if we shift our attention to positive things, and this is why, like, I'm obsessed with the stuff that I'm obsessed with, is because, like, ultimately, I want to see a better world. And
true, yeah.
So easy to fall into the negative narratives that are on the news media, all over.
I mean, everybody thinks it's. Well, I mean, it's weird. People think it's shittier than it is, and then people think in other aspects. I guess you're also not seeing how shitty it really is. You know, it's hard to wrap your head around how terrible things are right now, or not terrible.
Right. Well, it's about where you focus your attention and where we focus our attention as a group, because that's what's steering the collective consciousness, and that's why I think the Mandela effect is a real thing, and why you know, when we look back, we can change it's like if you had a trauma yourself, you know, just as an individual, you can shift your perspective toward that trauma. It can be negative for you, or you can heal from it, and it can be not necessarily a positive thing, but something that, you know, you can take with you. You can help other people with it. It becomes, instead of a scab, a scar. Yeah. And then now you know, you can take that and you can help maybe other people heal. True. You know, as opposed to just being dominated by that negative, you know, occurrence or situation that you dealt with in the past.
And I mean, you know, politically, I don't think anybody likes what happens and what's been happening. And, you know, I mean,
I don't think so either.
But it really does feel like everybody's kind of giving up on humanity in a way. Like, everybody's just like, hey, humanity sucks.
Well, my question is this: what if nobody voted? Just everybody's boycotted it.
I've done that.
Yeah, that's all I've ever done.
But Katie's getting me back into voting.
No, that's fine. Yeah. You know, we all have.
I've been, you know, very what is it, panarchist.
Panarchist. I like that. I've never heard that term before.
It's the concept of kind of how there was what would you say? At one point, religions were tied to certain geographical areas. It's the concept that with technology and with society as it grows, at some point governments will not be tied to geographical areas, and that, for instance, your neighbor can subscribe to this government philosophy, and your neighbor right next door can subscribe to this government philosophy, and with technology, we can figure out a way to govern almost, you know, digitally, and in a way that doesn't force anybody to be a part of a certain government, but you subscribe to a government and you're like, I don't want to be a part of the U.S. anymore. I'm going to subscribe to Russia, you know, whatever. It's a crazy idea, but I went down that rabbit hole for a while, and you know, it's something to explore. It's something to think about. I like the concept of seasteading. That's kind of neat.
Yeah.
But as for now, I think let's try to make America work.
Yeah. No,
as wounded as it is.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I think it's interesting to think about that too, because it's totally possible. And really, what you're saying is you're giving individuals the choice to choose for themselves. It's voluntary.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I want to live in this type of system. Okay, you want to be a commie? Okay, comrade, here's your sickle. Like go out there and lay around and let everybody. I don't know.
Your political opinions are rising to the surface.
Provide for you.
No. I understand.
I'm going to make fun of the capitalist way too.
I totally agree because I grew up very went through the libertarian phase, went through the panarchist phase, and now I'm just kind of like, I really think
I'm tired.
I just want to lay tired. No. I just want to make the what we got. If I'm lucky, 50 years, 67. However many years left. I'm not gonna. Let's just try to make
82. You said
81.
81. So yeah, you might have a while.
So yeah, I might have 50 years going for me. Let's just try to make it a beautiful future.
I think so too. I think that's really what obviously for whoever's in charge, whoever they are, I went into that whole rabbit hole when I was younger and the conspiracy and all of that. But it's like, of course, whoever it is or whatever, lizards or whatever, whoever's got control or power, they're not going to want to give that up. But at the same time, it's just being reinforced by anybody who subscribes to that and believes that that is the power. It's like... there was a guy who was a French philosopher, Etienne de la Baudière, and he wrote a book where basically, he was just saying that the reason why there's any authority at all, it's called obedience. I can't remember what it is. It's in French, so it doesn't matter. But basically, he's like the reason.
It's
why
like the names of the wine.
It's like I can't pronounce this. It's from Argentina, but the idea was that. The reason why there is any authority at all is because we agree to give, that we agree that there is an authority.
Yeah.
If we said, we're just going to kind of do our own thing, peace, man, and sort of not allow that system to perpetuate itself, then it can't. It couldn't. Yeah. And that's that attention aspect of things where it's like, well, like allow people to sort of do and as they please.
Well, that's why I'm also fascinated by just the concept of seasteading, where you can go out into international waters and test new forms of government and see how well they work. Almost like make a little petri dish of just. Let's try communistic government. Let's try capitalist government in this way. Let's try all these different things and then come to shore and say, hey. Look at what we've been doing, eating seaweed out here. Which there's there's some kind of seasteading organization that's trying to put this stuff together.
That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's like it would be essentially floating cities, which is in the realm of technological possibility.
Trippy, man.
Where they can go out there and it's just like, hey, we have no government. Let's try something new. Because I feel like the United States of America, it was, hey.
Let's try something new.
Yeah, and totally. I think why have we stopped experimenting? Well, one reason is because I don't think the governments that exist want us to do that.
Right.
But let's try to make the United States work as it is. Our friends and family live here, and all the governments. Let's try to make them all work as they are. But let's go out into international waters and start playing around.
Let's tinker.
Let's tinker.
Let's tinker on my tanker.
There you go. That was a good one. Okay, it's time to pull out the next bottle.
All right, here we go.
There we go.
That's how we know. All right, let's see what we got here. This one here, Ministry of the Venterior.
Yeah.
Wow, that is so accurate based on what we've been talking about. This is a 2016 cab sav from the north coast of Napa, California. Yeah, I would read this, but well,
No, let's just drink it.
I was reading.
It's got a pretty cover.
It does, dude. I love the skull.
Yeah, it's like a skull with a bunch of flowers growing out of it.
I love it. I love the juxtaposition, the dichotomy.
Yeah.
Very creative label there.
Yeah, I only go by labels. I don't know. Like I just, if it's got a pretty picture on it, I think it'll get me drunk. It'll be good.
I judge every book by its cover.
There you go.
Yeah. Are you ready? Here we go. And let me say, we're doing really well.
Oh, how
We're already over an hour.
Oh, good.
We just passed an hour.
Cool. So about a bottle an
even
hour.
with us.
A bottle an hour.
A bottle an hour.
Good to know. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Well, let's see what we think of this one. Let's see.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, there's a different taste there.
It is different. Yeah, it's a little bit more, I don't know, I would say maybe sweet.
It's a little
more
sweeter.
I like it. I like the sweetness.
It's got a little bit more of a syrupy kind of gist to it. I don't know. I'm terrible at describing what I taste. Katie will tell you. My ideal meal is, an extravaganza Domino's pizza covered in Tabasco and crammed in ranch.
Yes, your diet is very fascinating to me. I would love to talk about that, actually. Like, one time I was like, hey, can I take you guys to lunch? And you were just like, nah, dude, I'm just going to eat an egg in a bag and some salami wrapped up in cheese.
Well, that's my working diet.
That's the working man's
That's
lunch.
my working diet. I just eat, like, eggs, like hard-boiled, anything that's easy to eat. Like, I don't think about the taste. I just kind of eat it. I try to do, like, when I'm,
This should slide down.
Yeah, there you go. I did the keto thing for a long time, and that's probably when I was eating that bag of eggs.
Okay.
When I'm not doing keto, I'm doing Domino's. Or a good, I like some Italian food or something. Not just Domino's, but
Sure. No, but Domino's, as far as like fast food pizza,
that's my fun. Like go into a coma and like you earned it food.
Yeah.
That's you've been working so hard. I don't want to think about what I'm tasting. I don't even want to think about it. If it's interesting, no. I want to eat something that I've tasted 1,000 times. Like, oh my God, that shoot was hell. I'm going to eat this whole pizza, cram it in ranch. I'm going to watch It's Always Sunny and fall asleep on the couch. That's my ideal meal.
That's it.
Because I mean, you can go to a nice restaurant and, delicately eat everybody, and that's great too.
Yeah, that's great too.
But if I'm being honest,
no, of course. Well, I think that's something that's I heard someone else say. It's not my thing, but they were like, everything you do is spiritual. Yeah. Like everything you do, and sometimes you just need to just eat a Domino's pizza and go into a coma.
Yeah.
And that's just part of being human. Like we work so hard, especially in Western. When I was in Spain, and in Europe, it was just like, man, what an amazing place. Like, as soon as I got off the plane, the first thing I realized was the pace of life was so much calmer. I was like, man, it doesn't seem like anybody's watching Fox News over here or CNN for that matter, right? Like either one. And, we're just walking around and people are living their life. Like they're out, they're about, they're not super workaholic-y, they're just living their life.
Yeah.
And I thought that was really interesting, not to mention the age of the towns and the places that we went and all the dust. Like you can make a fortune over there with a power washer. I'm just saying. But, like walking through these old streets that are made of marble, the sidewalks are, like beautifully manicured. It's just like a completely different sort of vibe. And I don't know. I mean, it's interesting how hard we push ourselves, how much we hustle.
Oh, yeah.
It's also interesting how much I can't help it. Like, I think it's just a part of who I am that I want to work so hard, too. And I guess that in that culture, it's just not quite the same.
Well, I mean, it's definitely, we do it to each other, this kind of pushing each other and these, I mean, the nature of a client, I think, is to make unreasonable demands. And I guess you never know if their unreasonable demands are a bluff or if they really do have that deadline. Because, we just in the video world, it's like, hey, I need it yesterday. I was like, but it's today.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's almost like undercutters too. It's like, oh, he's selling it for $29, well, $25, and then the other person's like, well, 20, and then the other person's like 15, and then it's like you just keep getting, it just keeps getting harder and harder and harder and harder to fulfill people's desires. Like you're saying, it's like, you've got the one guy who's like, well, we need it yesterday, and you're like, well, how am I supposed to manage this? That doesn't make any sense.
And it
gets harder and harder.
It's kind of trickle down shitonomics. It's just like, someone's screaming at him and he's screaming at me. And then I'm like, hopefully I'm not screaming at anybody, but I'm like, hey, we got to do this fast. So it's a
lot of pressure.
Yeah. And I mean, it's pressure that's kind of passed down through different, from person to person, to like, make stuff happen. And I mean, we see the same thing in the UK, which they'll push really hard, but then just out of nowhere they're like, oh, I'm on holiday, sorry, bye. And it's like, wait, how do you get to do that?
Yeah, that's not fair.
Yeah. So no, they seem a little bit more balanced than Americans. At least they they have the same kind of push, but they'll just drop off the map.
Yeah, that was the kind of the case in Spain too, where I mean, I'm not talking shit about anybody, but like we'd be working or whatever, and then all of a sudden somebody's like, "Well, it's my break," and they would just literally wander off,
into the woods and never.
We're on a boat. I don't know where the hell they went. We're all trapped on a cruise ship. Where the hell did you go?
They're in the engine room, just having a party
down there with Leo DiCaprio, just crushing it. But no, they just would literally wander off and be gone for like 45 minutes, and you're like, where'd Enrique go? What the hell, man? And then he'd show back up, and we're like, well, we can't be too mad because we still need him. We're on a cruise ship. I'm not going to throw him off the back or anything. So, they'd be like, listen, man, you just let us know when you're going to take your break, because they just had a different way of working than we did, where we're there until, and it's like, we're there until, and we wouldn't, I don't know if it's puritanical or like where this work ethic necessarily comes from, but it was very much like, what the hell, where'd Enrique go? And then he would show back up and we'd be like, well, we have to accommodate for their lifestyle, their culture.
True. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if that works on a set. I don't think it does.
On a boat, it has to. And honestly, like, there's a lot of us that are working on a boat. I mean, it's not like Enrique was the MC, for instance. I'm using Enrique as a fake example here, but like he wasn't an MC, he might have been a security guard.
Yeah.
It's like he walks off, he's gone for 45 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Well, we just cover for you. Like on a set, no. It doesn't work because you have specific duty. If you're the lighting guy, you can't just walk off.
Yeah, because everyone's waiting on you.
Exactly. If you need something, you need him to just twist the light 12 degrees.
Yeah.
He needs to be there.
And Katie is producer. She producer, AD. She does.
She does like 4 jobs.
She does everything.
Yeah.
Like when we were talking about my belief in God, I do have a theory that I might just go to limbo when I die, and I'm like, oh, where's God? Oh, that was Katie. She was just, you just never noticed that she was doing everything. And, when everything fell into place perfectly, that was just Katie. Oh, no, God doesn't exist. But
that's amazing. Well, that's what's so amazing about your guys' relationship. And it's evident. I mean, you can see that you two both just work together so well. And it's awesome to see that. Like, it gave me a newfound faith. And like, because, like, personally, like, I'd never really believed in marriage. I was like, well, I don't really believe in marriage. And, but then when I've gone to, like, because I've been to some weddings of people who should not have been.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
And I'm sure you have too. And anybody who listens to the show has probably been to that wedding. But, being there and being able to be there, it gave me like just a newfound appreciation for a partnership, and one of commitment. It doesn't matter how you do it, I could maybe meet somebody and we have our vows behind the door naked and the preacher's on the other side or whatever. But I've never been like a huge fan of government, and I've never been a huge fan of the church. So for me, it's like, well, I don't believe in marriage, but I do believe in commitment, and I do believe in two people making, making commitments, vows to each other.
Yeah.
And to see that, it gave me a new perspective and more hope, for myself to be like, you know what, maybe there is somebody out there for me who's going to be a helpful person to me, and I can help them. And like just your relationship, your guys, it's evident. It's very obvious to see that you both really admire and admonish and like adore each other, and you both complement each other very, very well.
Well, Katie's like she's kind of a Zen master in a way,
dude. Yeah, she needs to be teaching me. This stuff.
That's the thing. You can't talk to her about it because she's just like, don't stress out, just stop it, just do it,
deflects.
just do it. Yeah. Because she's found that, and she doesn't know it. She doesn't have to explain it. It's just she does it, doesn't. And she's
like, oh, and you're so positive, and I'm like, I'm so positive. Like anything that you throw to her, she's just such a like it doesn't faze her. She's just unfazable. She's just like, well, we'll figure it out, and she does. It's not like we'll figure it out and then she doesn't worry about it and walks away like a lot of people do. She's like, oh, we'll figure it out, and then she actually takes the steps to figure it out and follows it all the way down, and is an incredible people person. And
well, years ago we hired an audio engineer to do all the audio, and because we did all the editing, and it came. We had like, I think it was 8 a.m. It was showing like at like this meeting, so we had to have it by 8 a.m. and at like I think it was 3 a.m. audio comes back and it's terrible. Oh no! And Katie she's like, okay, well, I'll become an audio engineer tonight, and she just digs into it. She fixes all this audio, and the guy's like, hey, I'm still working on it. And she's like, no, like we got the like file up. Here it is. If you want to see it, hear it, and see if you hear anything. And he's like, how did you do that? And this guy who's like an audio engineer, he's like, could you teach me what you just did? And she's like, she figured it out in like 30 minutes. And she's just like, amazing.
Yeah, dude. She is amazing. Both of you guys are. I mean, you guys, like I said, you just complement each other so well. It's really neat to see that, and it gives me a newfound hope and appreciation. I'm not even joking when I say like the universe became a better place to live on October 5th.
Oh, thank you.
I believe that, man. Like I believe we all just shifted up just a rung, and there's all this stuff, and like you said, like negativity and what kind of. Here's one thing that I want to like throw out there that sometimes I forget, and I think a lot of us do. 500 years ago, people's heads were on stakes.
Yeah.
There are some countries I think where that still does happen, but like it was way more. People were being burned at the stake.
Yeah.
Because they are witches. We've come a long way overall.
Oh yeah. Statistically, everything's better.
Yeah. There's the quality of life is way higher, and the value of positive emotion now versus maybe more prehistoric going back. And that's why I think it's so easy for us to go back into fear mode, is because from the beginning, fear is what dictated what we needed to do.
Yeah.
It's like, oh God, I have to avoid this. I have to avoid that. And that was the way we survived. But there's not any grizzly bears in my front yard. Yeah. There's no, saber-toothed tiger chasing us. So now the value of positive emotions and what we can do is becoming more apparent. And I believe we are like, I'm sure we take a couple steps forward and maybe a couple steps back here and there. But ultimately, I think we're, as far as like consciousness or whatever you want to call it, like we are becoming more aware.
Yeah.
And becoming more, into those higher vibrational states. I
True.
don't know how to say it,
And I mean, like, I totally respect anybody who's like trying to make the world a better place. Cause I'm a perfectionist with film, it can always be better. The world can always be better.
Absolutely.
But, don't lose sight of how far we've come too, cause I mean, man, it's there's a lot of bad things, but there's a lot of good things too. And I mean, I think, humans, at their core, they're good. I believe in some kind of,
I think so too.
People can be consumed by a terrible, terrible energy that, creates, a lot of pain. But I don't think the human is bad. I think that energy is bad. As woo woo as that sounds, woo.
Yeah, you see the woo. But no, I agree with you. I think that, and again, it's us in our attention. It was like, I can't remember, somebody the other day was like, 1 in 12 people are sociopaths, and I was like, Jesus Christ, that can't be right. I thought it was like 1% or 2%.
No, 1 in 12.
1 in 12.
That sounds right.
No, it's crazy.
But working in the
that's a
film
lot.
business.
That's a lot.
In entertainment, yes.
But at the same time, it's not half and half.
Yeah, true.
It's not like we're seeing a yin
Absolutely.
yang here of balance of that. Like, and I know there is a balance, but I don't believe the balance is half people are bad and half people are good. In fact, I would say the majority of people, even if it is 1 in 12, which seems like kind of high to me, but I'll go with it. Still, like,
it actually sounds just really accurate to me.
Damn, dude. God, I hate hearing that.
Well, it's just like, if, I don't know, you run a production company, you run into all kinds of personalities, and you gotta manage them, and it's just like, about 1 out of 12, you're just gonna have something. So it's like,
I guess that kind of makes sense, the way things have been shifting that I've been perceiving. I guess I'm such an idealist. I can't help it. I'm never gonna stop being one. I'll become, hopefully a little bit more rational over time, or whatever, balance my views out. But it's just like, even if it is, 1 in 12, that's still 11 great people to every psycho.
They drown them. They water them down and they drown them out. It's a beautiful thing, and I mean, it's but we got to deal with them.
Yeah. How do you deal with that? Is that why Benjamin Franklin has 12 dead bodies in his basement? Or?
I have no idea.
I don't know. I don't know. When I remember reading his autobiography and then doing more research, and I was like, man, I don't know, dude. But at the same time,
I need to go down that rabbit hole. So, well, I've heard about so he had 12 dead bodies. Okay.
I don't know if it was 12, but it was dead bodies. He had dead bodies buried in the bottom of his house for sure.
I mean, was he that just standard old well, not standard. What would you say? Is he Frankenstein? Is he he was zapping himself with and Frankenstein's terrible. He's terrible.
Sure.
I mean, I'm saying, was he a mad scientist? Which is that's a sociopathic.
I mean, he was
thing.
Definitely a scientist. He was definitely that type of person.
I mean, were these people he killed, or was he digging people up and trying to bring them back to life?
I think that they were people that he killed.
Ah.
Now, let's say this. If it's 1 in 12, and he had 12 in his basement, maybe.
Which one is he? Okay.
Exactly.
There you go. Okay, yeah.
So that's the question, as far as Benjamin Franklin goes. And he made a lot of great contributions as far as to humanity or whatever, but at the same time, was he a healthy person, or were these people who were threats to, it's that's the fucking line.
Well, he was kind of a little bit of a psycho with he had a very competitive nature. Mm-hmm. What was it? He had this crazy competition that he had, which what was it? It was some kind of rival, because he had a farmer's, and hey, everybody, please feel free to Facebook message me on the accuracy of this next story, because I do not retain information very well, but this is the gist that I got. So he had a farmer's almanac, And he had a competing farmer's almanac. And the owner of that farmer's almanac, they would go at it, little jabs here and there. And at some point in his farmer's almanac, he published that his rival had died. And he was still alive.
Wow.
But he kept pushing the fact that he was, and this is actually, it's sociopathic yet kind of hilarious, because every time this rival would say anything publicly, he would respond saying, it's like, well, it seems the ghost of this man has risen and is saying these things. Like he just straight up fake newsed the concept that his rival was dead. Even when he died, when his rival actually died, he still kept heckling him. Like, well, he can't die twice or something like that. And it was so, and I believe this even ties into some of the Jersey Devil lore.
Huh. I just heard about the Jersey Devil.
What?
Yeah, I just heard about it like a week ago.
Where have you been?
I don't know.
That's one of the best. The X-Files screwed it up.
Yeah. Oh, did they?
They had an episode about the Jersey Devil. He was like some kind of primitive man in a cave or something.
What?
That's not right. That doesn't make any sense. Jersey Devil, like, what? It's like okay. Once again, don't retain information well, but maybe like I think it was 1 out of 13, the 13th child, and the child like died but came back to life and turned into this demon, and but the big thing is the scream that they hear in the Pine Barrens. That's what this is all centered around. Huh. Is they just hear this, just like, I'm gonna turn away from the microphone.
Sure.
Just this. That like echoes.
That is mortifying.
Yeah, it echoes through the Pine Barrens.
Jesus. And can you do it one more time? Would you mind? God.
That's the last time.
That is worse than a velociraptor. I'm just saying.
But apparently, it echoes through the Pine Barrens, and the rumor is it's this half like horse, half man, half demon. So it has like demon wings with a horse body with like claws and like red eyes, and it's a terrifying cryptid.
Yeah, we're back to the cryptids.
We always come back to the cryptids.
My mom's gonna love this show.
Oh, good. shout out to Owen's mom.
Mom. Woo. No, but that's so interesting. That's just beyond bizarre. Like, I don't know. I mean, you can't just kill people. Right? I mean,
no, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
I mean, that's like the worst thing you can do is take everything from someone. That's like the biggest theft.
But the question is, do these people in Benjamin Franklin's basement deserve to be murdered?
Yeah, I mean, I guess, like, do they have stab wounds? What's the deal? Like,
it doesn't go into detail. It just says that, or based on my little bit of research that I've done, I guess I should do more.
Well, is it something that they like found the bodies and they're like, well, we're just gonna kick this under the rug?
This is after his death, like they found the bodies. Like, there's nothing you could do after that. Like, it's just over. And I think that the further back we go, the more murder there is. That's that's just our progression in humanity. Like we were talking about before, how there used to be heads on stakes, and now that's not. You don't just do that, but. At the same time, there is sort of an element of evil, I guess, in the world. I don't think that murdering people is the right way to deal with it.
No.
It seems like a lot of denial.
Yeah, I mean, if you have to, if they're in your house and they're
that's a different story if you're defending yourself.
Yeah, but other than that, that's not. I mean, hey, maybe every single one of those people was a burglar. No, I'm just kidding.
I mean, maybe so. I mean, maybe he had like put out. He's a smart guy. Maybe put out some ads like "Come get me."
Come get me. And he Rambo style.
Come at me, bro.
He Rambo style. Like he was making all these weird things out of electricity, like these tripwires that would just shock you to death. Like somebody pulls it's like Home Alone, but it's Benjamin Franklin. So they think they're pulling like a light switch and it's like a kite. It's a lightning storm.
It's a bunch of marbles and jacks, on the floor, and they trip and fall down the stairs, and all of a sudden they wind up in his basement inside of the thing that the wood chipper.
The wood. Okay, they had those. What year was this?
Oh God, no! I was thinking the thing that burns people up. What do you call
the fire pit?
The chamber pot.
The chamber pot. Okay, there you go. No. But I could see that. I could see him being like a little Kevin McAllister.
Right.
He's like a very. How tall was he?
Oh, pretty tall.
Really tall?
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's the pants.
It could have been the pants.
Kind of baggy on the sides.
But I'm just gonna say little old Benjamin Franklin. And he's it's Christmas.
Yeah, come on in.
Yeah, but he just wanted a good Christmas, and then these burglars.
Yeah,
they came in 11 of them. Well, no, 12. 12 of them?
12 is, yeah.
That's a lot. I gotta say, he's probably a murderer.
Yeah, I think he was. But yeah, I think that times were different then. I'm not justifying it. I'm not saying that that's okay. I want to be very clear about that. But I do think it was a different time. Way more people were just brutally murdered in those times. That was just like people were being burned at the stake because they, wanted to read your fortune or, whatever. It's just like a completely different time. And, he wanted the turkey to be the official bird of the country. And I get that, actually. I actually learned this from another podcast where there's a guy who studies ancient history.
Yeah.
And he was talking about the older tribes and stuff and how their symbol was a snake. And so, all of the North and South America, Quetzalcoatl, I don't even know how to pronounce it, but all these different gods were like snakes. And in St. Patrick's Day, whenever in Ireland they got rid of all the snakes, quote unquote, there were never any snakes there. There aren't any snakes in the UK at all.
Yeah.
But what that was referring to was they had gotten rid of all the indigenous. And so the indigenous symbol was the earth, the ground.
Yeah.
Which is represented by a snake.
Okay.
The Roman Catholics represented by an eagle. This all-seeing eye, this overlooking sort of thing. And so that's why they praise St. Patrick for getting rid of all the snakes, which meant that he had gotten rid of all of the indigenous people there, where Stonehenge was built. And so that being like a metaphor for the whole thing. Yeah. It's like the idea is that like this thought, this type of thought, this thought structure is now taking over and trying to destroy all of these ancient ruins and all of that kind of stuff. So he wanted a ground bird. Yeah. The turkey. Yeah. So it was kind of like this mix because turkeys can't really fly. So instead of the eagle, which was the symbol of the Roman Catholic Church, and the first, obviously, as you know, like the first flag of the U.S. was the Gadsden flag with that snake that's cut into bits, and it's like unite or die or whatever. Yeah. That is supposedly about grounding in the earth and like being like, hey,
So these are like kind of two extremes here.
Exactly. Yeah. And so he's sort of maybe bringing those two extremes together.
Well, I mean, I gotta say, I'm behind the whole turkey thing. I've never met a bad turkey.
Me either. Like I've never eaten one. That's for sure.
I mean, I've eaten a lot of turkey, but I've never met one that like.
Never eaten a bad one.
Oh, never eaten a bad one. There you go.
Yeah, they were all delicious.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Especially if you like jam it up with a Cajun spice and throw that bitch in the fryer. Boy, I'll tell you.
But snakes. I've met some bad snakes.
Not a fan of snakes.
Eagles. If you ever play Far Cry 5, they'll swoop down on you. It's not good. No. Yeah, never met a bad turkey. I think that is a good national bird.
I think it's not a bad. I don't think it's a bad symbol. You know, it's.
I mean, they do their thing. They just
Yeah, they live and let live.
Yeah,
they're not harming anybody. They don't have venom.
Yeah, that's like like patriotism can get away from you a little bit, and kind of blind the fact of just blind I don't know, your morality a little bit. You just gotta take it with stride. I think a turkey. You never see a turkey like holding a javelin and going into war or anything like that.
No, exactly.
You see a snake. Snakes go to war. Eagles, they swoop down, rip you apart.
They sound kind of like the noise that you made.
The Jersey Devil.
The Jersey Devil.
Yeah, the Pine Barrens. I mean, I'd love to go out to the Pine Barrens at some point.
So that's in New Jersey.
Yeah.
I'm actually going to be driving up the East Coast with my friend Wendy, who's coming from Australia, who has a gift for you and Katie.
What?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I haven't given you guys your wedding gift because, well, it's in Australia.
Oh, thank you, dude.
She's a brilliant artist. And so anyway, she'll be bringing something,
Oh, thank you, dude.
But we're going to go up the East Coast.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll check out the Pine Barrens.
Dude, get an Airbnb.
Yeah. It's a great idea because the whole idea is that we go up the East Coast. We're going to stop in North Carolina and see Tool.
What?
Yeah.
Really? Oh, Katie is going to be very jealous.
That's fair.
Where's Tool playing?
They're playing all over the East Coast, actually.
Are they coming through Atlanta?
I believe they are. But let me look it up actually right now. The Tool tour.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna go see them in I think Raleigh, North Carolina.
Yeah.
Yeah, it looks like they're coming to the Staples Center,
dude.
But we're gonna go see them on November 18th, I think.
Okay.
And I think they play in Atlanta before that, but we're gonna go see them November 18th, front row.
Hell yeah, dude. That's
awesome.
awesome.
Then we're going to go to D.C., go to some museums, and then I've never been to New York City.
You told me that.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's get ready. You're going to walk a lot and eat a lot.
I'm cool with both of those things. And then we're going to drive over to Buffalo and see a friend of mine, and then we're going to go into, hopefully, if I can get in legally, to Canada.
Yeah.
To Toronto. My friend Jay is creating a ayahuasca ceremony for us.
That's going to be amazing.
And then we're going to meditate with crystal skulls or something. I don't know. This guy's cool. He's a cool dude. And hopefully I'll do a podcast with him too, because I really like Jay. We've been buddies for a while. And then fly back home.
Did you talk to Andres at the wedding?
I did talk to Andres.
About ayahuasca?
I didn't talk to him about ayahuasca.
Okay. Yeah, he had some advice. I'll reach out to him.
Cool.
And see, because it was something along the lines of I think you want to sit up and lean into it or something like that.
Don't shit yourself.
Don't shit yourself. Yeah.
You're gonna throw up. Don't shit yourself. Which seems like good advice. The advice that I got from my friend Damiano, who's an Italian guy, he said that when he did ayahuasca, he was between the spirit world and the physical world at the same time. So he was living in both. So living in the dream world and the solid world, both at the same time. And he said he saw the devil, not to be scared. And he also said, and this was what blew me away, he was like, and I figured out he figured out a way to sort of change the world, which was this. Instead of having a monetary shift where, a small group of people take all the money and then redistribute the wealth, he's like, why not do a blockchain, put everybody on it, and then you decide how much you want to give to that blockchain. So maybe that's 50 cents a day or whatever. So instead of being like, oh, here you go, kings and queens, here's all our money, redistribute it for us. Because they're going to because that's going to end well. Instead of that, you just put every single person on the blockchain, and then people like me and you can be like, well, $1 a day. That's $30 a month, $365 a year. Other people can be like, 5 cents a day, whatever it is that you decide to give to that, and then it distributes to every single person on that blockchain, and then it brings the bottom up to the top without having to exchange the wealth. And I was like, dude, like that is brilliant.
Yeah.
I don't know quite how it works or what it looks like.
Well, that's the thing. Government's got to change. Yeah. I mean, you got to start experimenting because, when the United States was created, that was a very different world.
That's true.
And so, I mean, people need to go out and, whether it be seasteading or just, wherever you can do it and try to figure out new ways to make everybody live a better life.
Yeah.
And stuff like blockchain and, new forms of currency, stuff like that. I mean, that's the direction we definitely need to go. I mean, one thing is, if it was some kind of system like that, and on social media, everyone can see what you're giving your money to. I think the ego element would be an aspect there too.
Well, I just think the amount of money that is spent on war is a shame. I think we all can agree to that. No matter what your political affiliations are, however you identify. Yeah. That is something that we can all be like, well, why are we fighting each other? Why are we killing innocent people? Innocent people are killing innocent people. Yeah. There's something wrong with that.
Absolutely.
We should know better than that. Like, we're not even allowed to put kids in timeout anymore, but we're still shooting people with AK-47s. That doesn't make any sense.
It's weird, yeah. And it does seem like they're almost like outsourcing war to the Middle East, almost like it's just this like whole little like playground of just...
It's strange.
Of terror, and something's got to switch. And I mean, I don't know. Humans
I think that it will. I trust the brilliance of humanity and the sort of Jedi nature of I guess we'll call it the 11 out of 12. That's why 11. Yeah. 11. And there's, if 1 in 12 people are sociopaths, there's 11 of us that get it.
Well, that's another thing. I'd say I'd like to really know the statistics. I'd say if 1 out of 12 is a sociopath, and hopefully that's neither one of us.
There's only 2 of us here, so that bodes well.
Yeah.
Do you have herpes? No, I'm sorry. I was taking pictures earlier, and I was like, he's going to think I'm trying to seduce him. Like, there's bottles of wine here. There's, like, flowers.
Wait, hey, no, I had the idea for the podcast, so there you go. No, I brought the wine into this. But, I mean, I guess it would be 1 out of 12 is a sociopath. But, I mean, what percentage of people care? And what percentage of people just...
That's the question.
Because, I mean, there are people, there are good people who just don't care.
They just don't know, even. They don't even know to care. Like, they would maybe care.
I mean, I know some...
They're just too busy. They're like, I work 12 hours a day. Yeah. I come home. I pick up my kid from school. On and on and on. And they just really just want to do the best that they can.
Oh, yeah. And you'll meet the sweetest guy ever bagging groceries at the grocery store. But, he's like, well, I don't care about...
I don't know
about, the overall picture. Sure. But doesn't mean he's not a good person.
Right.
So, I mean, it's what's the statistic out of people? And who knows? I guess I might be one of those people who don't care.
Well, at times we all are. Like there's things that I'm not aware of that, if I were aware of, then I would, try and influence and or change in some way.
Yeah, true. Because, I mean, there's 1 out of 12 people is a sociopath. Maybe 1 out of those 12 people is someone who's going to really make the world a better place. I don't know if I'm one of those people, but I would love to be one of those people. But I think it's sometimes you meet people and you're like, wow, that person's really, really doing it. So...
Well, I mean, and again, it comes down to attention, too. Where, like, it's probably better for that person to not know as opposed to having a bunch of negativity slung on them and going into like, oh my God, the sky is falling, and I've got to, figure this stuff out. Because there's like a lot of people who say that they're awoke or whatever, or awake. And it's like, dude, you're just bringing more negativity into the world. I can't tell you how many Thanksgiving dinners I've ruined by just being like, oh my God, this and oh my God, that. And they're all out to get us or whatever. And it's like, okay, look, that's not necessarily the truth. Like there's an element maybe of truth to that, but it's not intentional for the most part. It's just attentional. Yeah. It's just that people are attending to this. And if we want to neutralize something, it's kind of like quitting smoking, for instance. You just basically not ignore it, but you just you acknowledge it. Yeah. But you just don't attend to it anymore, and then it falls away. And that's how you crush a habit. You don't do it by fighting with it. The more you hate smoking, the more you smoke. Yeah. You entangle yourself with it. But if you're like, well, okay, I see my folly in my ways. I get it. I'm going to try and just focus on, like Katie just quit smoking. So proud. I never thought I would quit smoking though. I never thought I would. Yeah. But when I did, it was just about me shifting my attention. And then once I realized, holy shit, like I'm not thinking about a cigarette every 5 or 10 or 20 minutes or however long. This is so freeing. Yeah. And so I was able to just point my attention to something different, focus on that. And then I was not even, I just forgot. I just forgot. And then it fell away. It's like a wart that fell off, Yeah. And I think that's kind of that's sort of the prescription. Mm-hmm. It's like, look, what can we focus on that's good? Let's all go to the farmer's market or yoga or whatever. Yeah. I don't know. Like, I'm going to be cheesy and like throw yoga in. But, but like whatever it is to where I shift my focus instead of like hating on Trump or hating on, the industrial food system and picketing and being angry. We know that stuff hasn't really had very much of a successful track record in the past. What if we instead shifted on the solution, focus on those things, and then bring more of that into the world? And that just creates more of that into the world, and the other things sort of fall away and just get lost in the background. And that's why I mean about the well, that's why, like, it's hard not to believe in evil people or good people. I believe in good people. Mm-hmm. I just can't bring myself to believe in evil people. I think they're just misguided people. For the most part. I think people are vessels. It's you fill yourself up with the stuff that's around you. And sometimes you can't help it. And sometimes other people pour shit into your mug. And it's not up to you. And it's, unfortunately, it's your job to sift through it and pour it out or drink it. That's a good way of putting it.
And I mean, drinking shit. Sorry. But and that's hopefully one day it'll be 1 out of 24, and then 1 out of 100, and then so on and so on. I mean, we have the fucking tools.
We do.
I mean, there's so much emotional currency on the internet. Anybody can talk to anybody about anything. That's a good thing. Here we are drinking too much wine and talking to one another.
Yes. I love this podcast.
Oh, wow. So this is the last of it.
Well, we're going to have to go to the bar. No.
There you go. We are going to drink water and sober up. Yes. I promise we are responsible individuals.
You hear that, ladies and gentlemen? We are sobering up.
But no, if I know the audience can't see. I've got about 1/3 of a glass of wine.
I think I'm about there with you. Yeah. I think we've been doing pretty good. I'm keeping up.
What's the time stamp?
As far as the podcast goes?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I think we're about 150. Wow. 150.
Okay. That's an hour and 50 minutes? Yeah. So this is like a little over 2 hours, I think, for 2 bottles.
We're going to be right at around 2 hours, which I think is great. And the length of this podcast is going to vary based on a multitude of factors. This is Ben's,
Between Projects podcast, which thankfully, we get to explore together, and I value that highly, and I can't wait to have you back on already. Love you, dude.
We haven't even finished this bottle.
I know. Okay. So you were a bartender for a good portion of time.
I was.
What's your weirdest story?
Whew, that's tough. I have seen so many famous people shit-faced. Like,
really?
Yeah.
Was this in Athens?
Mostly in Athens.
Okay.
Yeah. I've seen some in Atlanta and at Greensboro, like the Arizona Cardinals. Atlanta Falcons. Arizona Cardinals coach would always come in and get.
Well, God help him. It's as a coach of a team, I guess it's a lot of pressure.
It's fair, yeah. And they were always very nice, actually.
Yeah.
The craziest thing I ever saw was when I was working in Greensboro at what used to be called Reynolds Plantation. They just changed the name from Reynolds Plantation to Reynolds Lake Oconee.
Oh, okay.
Because they're so enlightened. It's still a plantation, if we're being honest, in a lot of ways. And I have a lot of friends who still work there, and it's kind of sad in a way. I've got a couple of skits that I will not mention on this podcast, but maybe I will share with you later on about some of those experiences. But there was a guy who was there on like a Saturday night, and it was like maybe 9-10 o'clock on Saturday night. We closed maybe 11, and he went over to this table and was hitting on another gentleman's wife, and she rejected him in front of the entire table, and he got very upset and took a bread plate and threw it at a window.
Okay.
And just, shattered the whole window.
Yeah.
This is something that you would expect to see at like a Harley Davidson bar, and this is like as uppity as you can get. So I had to like go over and talk to the guy and like be like, look, dude, like I know I shouldn't have to tell you that what you did was wrong. And he got very defensive and was yelling at me and telling me that I didn't know who he was and all this stuff. And I was like, it doesn't matter. You can't just come in here and like throw bread plates at windows. Like, that's not cool. This is like a, I don't know, $500,000 restaurant or something. And he just lost his mind in the middle of the place. Then everybody, as he's yelling at me, everybody comes out, grabs him up, tackles him, and pulls him out of the place. That was the craziest thing I ever saw, because it was so random.
Yeah.
I didn't expect it, especially in such a nice hoity-toity, because like the Ritz-Carlton is there. Like, we're talking about like, this is on par with the Ritz-Carlton. This is like, you come here, you have dinner, and then you go to the Ritz-Carlton. Yeah. And you like get a massage and, hop in the pool or whatever they do there. And that was probably the craziest thing I ever saw at the bar. I don't know, man. So many people are just incredibly disrespectful, and the reason why I had to stop bartending was because I would be working and someone would come in and I would say, hey, how are you? And they would say, Bud Light.
Interesting.
Yeah, which is not an answer to my question at all. But what it made me want to do was take a Bud Light, smash the end of it on the bar, and just go immediately for their throat. Because like, that's not how you talk to somebody. And when I took jobs like that, it was because I'm an entrepreneur, and I thought I'll meet other like-minded people, maybe potentially, and talk to them and let them know about but it was mostly only, sadly, people who worked at like Charles Schwab, or something, and they had just become retirees, and they were honestly trying to just keep their money. I don't think that most of the people that I worked for were very wealthy. I think that they were upper middle class, and I respect that, but I don't think that it was ever, I don't know.
Well, I understand what you say about how are you doing today, Bud Light.
Yeah.
I worked at the internet. Well, I worked at a international pancake house that you might be familiar with for 2 years of my life. And there was a lot of, hey, how are you doing today? I want that double stack. I want that. Is that it really?
You were waiting tables at this.
Yeah, I was waiting tables.
Waffle, carnival.
Yep, for 2 years, and you experience some people that it's like, oh wow, you never leave the house except to come here, do you? It's some people who are like completely disattached from society. Really bizarre. I mean, you said the guy threw the plate against the wall. That was the owner for me.
Wow.
He would, you'd be walking out of the, things get crazy. It's like you forget the little piece of kale that's the, supposed to look fancy, but what's the point when we're going so fast? And the kale's on the other side of the pass bar. You walk out without kale, he'll take your plate, slam it against the wall, and be like, what are you doing? Crazy people. They definitely inspired, a lot of creative stuff.
Well, that's the positive.
Yeah.
I'll give that.
Yeah, and I mean, that world of weighing anybody out there who's weighing tables, you're doing God's work. It's just.
Yeah, dude, I can tell you.
Bless you.
I can tell you everything about a human being if I go and have dinner with them based on how they treat the server.
So many people that you just know right off the bat.
Exactly.
Oh my God, you're a piece of shit.
Yeah, and you don't want them to be. That's the sad part. Is like you go and you sit down and then they treat somebody like that and you're just like, oh fuck, I thought you were cool and you are a piece of shit. Like you are awful.
And God help you in the dating world too. I can't imagine.
No, that upsets me so much. I mean, I spent so many years in the service industry because, well, it's Athens, Georgia, and there's really not a lot of other opportunities.
Oh, yeah.
It doesn't matter what city or where you live. If you treat anyone like that, even a beggar, I don't trust you.
Well, what is it? Hey, it's Halloween time, so we watched. Katie and I watched American Psycho. And just like he goes down to a back alley, like one of the first things he does is go into a back alley and just talk shit on some homeless guy. And it's like, I like how they feed you his personality and feed you how like terrible he is. Because if someone treats a waiter poorly, that's just the tip of the iceberg.
That's exactly right.
Like, okay, so if you'll do that, what else will you do?
How many dead bodies do you have in your basement, Benjamin Franklin?
I know. And I don't think you're Kevin McAllister. I don't think this is a very sweet Christmas movie.
No, it's not.
I do not think I will be crying at the end of this movie. No. I think I'll be crying for the wrong reasons.
I'll be crying in the middle, which is not where you want to cry. You don't want to cry in the middle.
Yeah.
Oh, dude.
But Wayne Tables is rough. But I mean, I gotta say, it inspired me to create Dominar. Inspired me to go down that path. I mean, if you want some inspiration, don't take a desk job. Take a waiting tables job.
We'll take any job that you hate.
Any job you hate,
and then you'll go and you'll be miserable at work, and you'll be like, God, this sucks. I want to do the thing that I'm passionate about, that I know in my heart that I want to create and be a part of.
And I should add, there are some great restaurant owners who create a positive working environment for there to be very good waiters. I've met some waiters that I think were born to be waiters and they're in a positive environment, and that's great, but it's a exception to the rule.
Well, I'll also say this. We are all here to serve someone.
Oh, yeah.
In a certain way. The way you serve someone is not the exact same way that I serve someone. It's not the exact same way that my friend Temple serves someone who's an occupational therapist. It's not the exact same way that someone serves someone like my friend Isaac, who's a nurse, which I can never do what you do. I can never do what Temple does. I can never do what Isaac does. I can do what I can do, and that's it. And that's okay, and that's enough. But ultimately, we're all serving humanity.
Yeah.
And if we're not serving humanity, that's where there's the problem. That's the sociopath, I think, that just wants to take, that doesn't want to engage, that doesn't want to give anything. So for us, it's about giving something, whatever that is. And just because it's easy for you to give it doesn't mean it's not valued. It's still valuable.
Yeah.
But it's just the thing that is your gift. It's the thing that you can do. And that could be anything. You're not less than because you do hair. You're not less than because you're a server. You're not less than because it doesn't matter. Like, put the sort of like ego identification of it. It doesn't matter. It's giving your gift, whatever that is. Is enough.
I went to a restaurant. I was so down on waiting for a while because I was a waiter for 2 years, and I'm like, fuck this. And I go to a restaurant in Atlanta, and this dude made a show out of it. It's like it's his passion. And oh my God, he's like a train conductor. It's like, and the train's leaving, and the train is your meal, and you better grab it now because it's going. And it was beautiful. I'm like, man, this guy should be, he shouldn't be in films. He should be waiting tables. Because it's something that's so beautiful that I couldn't capture with a camera. It is his gift, and it is it's my privilege to be at his table. And there's any skill, any shit job you've ever had, there's somebody that can make an art form out of it.
Well, dude, I love pressure washing. It's a random thing. I love it. It's so zen for me. If somebody was like, "Hey, man, I'll pay you $20 to pressure wash my driveway," I'd be like, "All right, I'd do it."
I love it. If it weren't for the shaky feeling, my hands shake afterwards.
Fair enough.
Do yours?
No. I try to switch them up as much as I can.
I probably need a better pressure washer. I think my pressure washer's shit.
You need a Honda.
Yeah, there you go.
It's smooth. But like, there are certain things that I like doing that are sort of mundane tasks, and like, my mom and I have built this Airbnb business, and a lot of the things that I've had to do, I didn't really like, but some of the things that I don't mind, It's like, it's not a big deal. Like, I hate cutting the grass. I don't know if you noticed that when you came by. But like, I'm not a big...
It looks like a good yard.
Yeah. I do it, I do the things that I'm I need to do, and then make my landlord happy and my Airbnb guests or whatever. Yeah. But there are certain things that I really enjoy. Yeah, I really enjoy doing that might seem like mundane tasks to other people.
I love After Effects. People talk shit on VFX. That's my jam.
You're good at it too.
Oh, thank you.
And then there's that passion that comes through. It's like you're talking about that waiter who's like doing all this stuff, and you're just like, damn. And it's like, that comes through. That's from the inside out. Nobody's forcing that guy to do that.
No.
He's just like, dude, check this out. I can do this. And he's really giving.
And you go to that restaurant and you see on the wall, he's got pictures with all these celebrities who are like, that's my waiter.
Yeah.
Because
and they request him when they go in there.
Because he's the best of the best of the best.
And he might get to go to parties and do all kinds of cool stuff with other different people.
Wish I could shout out. I don't remember his name, but he made it a very memorable experience.
That's amazing. And so that's really ultimately what it comes down to, is like, what is it that you can give to the world, and discovering that and enjoying that and appreciating that and giving, and then ultimately the world gives you back because you gave.
Yeah.
It's like, man, so many of your videos that I've seen are just huge gifts. People are like,
"Oh, thanks, Mom."
Their jaws are dropped to the floor. Mine is. While they're watching this thing, and it's because you are giving every piece of yourself to the video, to the vision.
And Katie too.
And Katie too, and the entire crew, truly, because you guys have
absolutely.
A great crew,
all
the way through, and that's just and the reason why you have a good crew is because of you guys giving that from the top and being like, listen, guys, we take this seriously. This is what we feel, and this is what we want to come through, and you guys do a great job of.
Yeah, I'd love to have every member of my crew on this podcast because they're all so amazing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my God.
That's an awesome idea. Like, I'm excited. Like, I'm so excited. And dude, thank you for again, coming
Oh,
on.
wait, how much wine do we have?
We're getting pretty close. I don't know. How do you have?
I got like a couple sips.
Okay, I got a couple sips too.
Okay, it's not over.
It's not over yet.
It's not over until it's gone.
No, it's not over until I pee my pants on the couch.
You got to piss?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah, me too. Well, okay. Let's enjoy this last sip of wine.
Okay. Is there anything? Well, let's go ahead and, if you don't mind, just tell the listeners where they can find you and Dominar.
Oh, okay.
And just kind of give them an idea of what you've got going on and what might be next.
Well, hey, if you can follow Dominar Films on either Instagram or Facebook. And we recently came out with the 6th music video in the range of music videos for Don Broco. This one was action. It had my voice saying, action, action, my raspy voice. It actually in the track, which I'm very honored that they put that in there. That's
so cool.
They're a sweet bunch of guys. they're beautiful. And if you want to catch up on the whole series of Don Broco videos, go to dominarfilms.com, go to the About page, and click in the About paragraph the series of Dominar, the Don Broco videos. You can click on those, and it'll show you them all lined up for you. Yeah, that's pretty much what I got going on. Hoping to cook some more stuff up, but that's why this is called Between Projects Podcast.
Yeah,
because that's the only time that Owen and I have to talk is when we're between projects.
I love it.
Which Owen, you're about to go on another adventure.
Yeah, that's true. I want you guys to please go check out Dominar Films. That's DominarFilms.com. And you can check out the About page. Check them out on Facebook. If you're friends with me, I'm going to send you a like request for their Facebook page. And, I'm just happy to be able to hang out with my buddy Ben and chat a little bit about the state of our world, where we're going, what's going on. You can always check me out everywhere at Bootsy Greenwood. That's my handle. My name is Owen Hunt, which is not very searchable, which is why I go by Bootsy Greenwood.
And Owen is the most beautiful person you will ever meet in this world.
I will say the same thing about Ben and Katie, for sure. So check out all their stuff, and hit me up, send me a message. Let me know how you're doing, and I'm excited about the future. Things are getting more and more interesting, and I feel like families are just merging and coming together more and more closely. And thank you guys for listening to this podcast. This is Bootsy Greencast number 1.
If you see him on the street, give him a hug.
Yeah, please.
And just revel in it. He's got the best hugs in town.
I am a hairy huggy.
He's a hairy huggy man, and it's beautiful.
That's right. And thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much.
I'm sad it's over.
I am too. I just have to pee. It's the only reason why it's over.
We're gonna pee in one toilet.
All right, here we go.
Cross the streams. Now, do you have 2 bathrooms in this?
Only one.
Okay, well, you have to pee more than you go first.
No, well, Dude, thanks again, Ben, for being on the show.
Are we off?
I'm gonna stop it in just a second, but I just want to thank you one more time.
Oh, thank you,
before
dude.
I go to the pee and
Well, dude, I love you, man.
I love
you
too.
Thank you so much for test driving this concept.
This is so much fun. I think this is a great concept, and I'm grateful to be able to.
And I thought, between projects, like that describes so many of my friends, because it's like, it's hard to get my friends to sit down and fucking talk to me. because I gravitate, and we're still going, right? Mm-hmm. I gravitate towards productive people, and I kind of thought up this podcast as a way to get my productive friends, and you'll talk to me anytime. I love you, dude.
Yeah.
let's try to get all my busy friends to talk to me. I can't guarantee that they will.
They will.
But
I think they will.
Okay, I love them all.
But you have to talk to all of them about Benjamin Franklin.
I know, right? Because we're always going, we're always moving, and let's try to get some of these podcasts going.
Turkey love. Turkey love. Okay, so turns out turkey love, not as funny as I thought. But you know what? They don't all land. Thanks for listening to this inaugural episode of Bootsy Greencast, which is also the very first episode of the Between Projects podcast by Ben Roberds, director at Dominar Films. Check them out. Dominar, Dominar films.com. All right. I'll put links in the show notes. I've had a couple of opportunities to work with them, as you've heard in the show, and they're just the loveliest people and so incredibly talented. If you're looking for some help on a video project, that'd be my first call. And if you want to support me, you can do so through Patreon. I've got some products now on Gumroad, a new hat that's pretty styling, and a couple meditations and things, as well as audiobooks up on gumroad.com/BootsyGreenwood. And then, of course, my Patreon is patreon.com/BootsyGreenwood. I've said I'm meaning to post more over there. I'm going to take some stuff that is from the vault and post it over there for all my Patreon people. And I might even share a comedy set or two over there here in the next month or so. But things are going really, really well here in Athens. I'm glad to be home. I was gone forever, seemed like, and I'm gonna be making podcasts as well as videos for you folks. Please reach out. Let me know what you think of the new format, and I'm always open to any ideas. But hey, it's all good. I hope you guys are all doing great out there, and I really appreciate the time. So love is all there is. We'll see you on the next one.